Welcome to our deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at ancient Greece.
Sounds exciting.
It is. We're using Ancient Greeks for Dummies as our guide.
Okay.
But, this isn't going to be just like a dry history lecture.
Right.
We're really on a quest for like those aha moments, the surprising things that make history come to life.
And you know, one thing that surprises people
Yeah?
is just how widespread ancient Greece actually was.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't just like one tiny country.
Right.
It actually like spanned the whole Mediterranean world.
So wait, so like Greece itself, obviously mainland and all the islands?
Exactly.
But then it went beyond that.
Oh yeah, way beyond.
Wow.
You're talking Asia Minor, which is like modern day Turkey.
Oh, wow.
And then you go down to southern Italy, and even parts of Spain had Greek influence.
That's incredible. It's like a massive cultural network.
It really is, yeah.
And the time period we're talking about is huge too, right?
Oh yeah, huge. We're focusing on roughly 900 BC to 300 BC for this deep dive. But even that's just like a tiny snapshot of this incredibly long and complex history.
I mean, even that seems like a long time to me.
It is, it is.
Okay, so before we even get to the Greeks we think of,
Yeah.
our source material starts us off with a bit of a mystery. The Minoans on the island of Crete,
Okay, yeah.
way back around 2800 BC.
So even before...
Not technically Greeks,
Okay.
but they set up some important groundwork.
That makes sense.
And what's so interesting is we still don't know that much about them.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating, actually.
We have these incredible ruins like
The
Knossos,
palace at Knossos, yeah.
but no written records that we can understand.
I wish we could decipher them.
So Knossos, this is a huge palace complex.
It's massive.
But it wasn't just a palace, right?
Right.
Our source material describes it more like as a center of government, storage, trade.
Almost like a whole little city in itself.
You're right.
And get this, they didn't even use coins.
What? How did they?
They measured their wealth by the amount of goods they had stockpiled.
Like what kinds of goods?
Think wine, olive oil, grain.
So basically like showing off your status with a giant pantry full of olive oil.
Basically, yeah. Isn't that interesting?
That's so different from how we think about wealth.
Completely different.
Okay, so clearly they were big on trade then.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense given their location right in the heart of the Mediterranean.
Right in the middle of everything.
Exactly.
This kind of connects to one of those like myth meets history moments that make ancient Greece so cool.
What do you mean?
Remember the Minotaur?
Oh, yeah, half bull, half man, stuck in a maze.
Right. Well, some scholars think that myth could be like a distorted cultural memory of the Minoans themselves.
How so?
Well, maybe a reflection of their complex palace architecture.
I could see that.
Or even like some ritual practices we don't fully understand.
That's really interesting.
It's like a whisper from this lost civilization passed down through generations.
And then transformed into this epic monster story.
Yeah.
It's really cool when you think about it that way.
Yeah.
It shows you that myths can sometimes hold little pieces of truth.
Right, even if they get exaggerated over time.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to like mainland Greece,
Yeah.
where, ancient Greek, as we kind of think of it, really starts to form.
Right.
Now, here's where things get interesting.
Okay.
Instead of like one big empire, you have all these independent city-states,
Wow.
each with their own government, culture, even military.
So like a bunch of mini countries all smushed together.
Exactly. And that variety is key to understanding ancient Greece.
Okay. I can see that.
Like you've got Sparta, famous for its warrior society.
Right.
And then you have Athens, which eventually develops democracy.
But democracy wasn't actually that common, right?
Yeah, it was more like an experiment.
Okay.
One that obviously had a huge impact on the world,
Oh, absolutely.
but definitely not the norm in ancient Greece.
Interesting.
Most city-states had other forms of government,
Mm.
and it's interesting to see how they played out. Yeah.
Our source material even talks about all these different ocracies, you know?
Oh, yeah, like theocracy, timocracy, tyranny.
Yeah, words we still use today.
But their meanings have changed a lot since then.
Exactly. So like theocracy, that's ruled by religious authority.
Right.
Timocracy is ruled by those with honor or property.
Okay.
And then tyranny. We usually think of that as a bad thing.
Yeah, like a dictator.
But in ancient Greece, it wasn't always seen that way.
That's true.
So the word tyrant didn't automatically mean a cruel or oppressive ruler.
It could just mean someone who seized power, but ruled effectively.
Like a powerful individual who took control but maybe actually benefited the city-state.
Yeah, a good example is Pisistratus, who ruled Athens in the 6th century BC.
He's labeled a tyrant.
But he was also a big supporter of the arts.
Right, he's actually the one who brought in those choral hymns, the dithyrambs.
And he's even credited with introducing tragedy to Athenian culture.
It's funny how our modern understanding of word can be so different from their original meaning.
It really is. Pisistratus is a good reminder that history is full of nuances.
And complexities.
Okay, now I know you're probably picturing those epic battles like from the movie 300.
Oh, yeah, with the slow motion and the rippling muscles.
Right, but ancient Greek warfare was a whole different beast.
Way more gritty.
And chaotic.
For sure.
Citizen militias were common.
So, everyday people were expected to defend their own land.
No standing armies, except for Sparta, of course.
Right, they were the exception.
Okay, so picture this. The hoplite phalanx.
Okay.
This was the dominant fighting formation in ancient Greece.
Like their go-to move.
Yeah, it was all about discipline and teamwork.
Got it.
Each soldier, called a hoplite, carried a spear and a large round shield,
Always goal.
a hoplon.
Hoplon, okay.
And those shields were crucial.
Why that?
They created this wall of protection as the soldiers advanced together,
Like a moving fortress.
pushing against the enemy line.
Wow, that's intense.
It was brutal. Close quarters combat.
Very different from like those archery duels you see in movies.
Sorry.
Totally. Speaking of brutal, what about the Spartans?
Oh, man.
Their training was insane.
Intense is an understatement.
Yeah.
They started training as kids,
Really?
focused on obedience, physical endurance, and just a tolerance for pain.
I can only imagine.
Well, picture this. It was called the Gauntlet.
What was that?
Young boys, like 7 years old,
7.
forced to run an obstacle course
Yeah.
while being whipped by older boys.
Oh my gosh.
It was meant to test their resilience.
And instill a sense of fearlessness, I guess.
Right?
That's awful. There's more.
Oh, yeah. It
Like-
gets even more intense.
Okay.
There was this thing called the crypteia.
Crypteia. Yeah.
Teenage boys were sent out with no food or water.
What?
They had to survive for a month on their own.
That's crazy.
And sometimes they were tasked with killing helots,
Who are the Helots?
the enslaved population of Sparta.
Wow. That's a dark look into their mindset.
Yeah, their entire society was built around warfare.
It's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah. So it's not surprising that the Spartans were both admired and feared throughout Greece.
I can see why.
But what happens when this highly trained force goes up against a massive empire?
Ooh, good question.
That's where the Persian Wars come in.
Right, the clash of civilization.
The huge Persian Empire moving westward.
Versus the Greek city-states who wanted to resist.
And the most iconic battle, Thermopylae.
Thermopylae, of course.
Uh,
We've been seeing 300.
300 Spartans holding off a massive Persian army.
Heroic, tragic, the whole thing.
But it wasn't just 300 Spartans.
Oh, right. There were other Greek soldiers there, too.
Though the Spartan sacrifice is definitely central to the story.
For sure.
It was a strategic loss, for sure.
Yeah, but it bought time for the other Greeks.
To prepare.
Exactly.
But it also became this powerful symbol
A symbol of courage.
of resistance against impossible odds.
I love that.
And that resistance eventually led to a Greek victory.
It did, the Battle of Salis.
Yeah.
That was the turning point.
The Athenian navy, they used some clever tactics.
And a bit of luck with the geography.
They lured the Persian fleet into a trap.
And crushed them.
And that victory secured Greek independence
Amazing.
and really made Athens the top dog in the region.
Wow.
Athens comes out on top. But this newfound power has some downsides, right?
Well, that's often how it goes, unfortunately.
Our source material kind of hints at some, not so great consequences.
Of Athenian ambition.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they formed the Delian League to protect Greece from Persia.
Okay.
But it slowly turned into something a little more controlling.
Like they went from liberators to empire builders.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
It's interesting how that happens, right?
Yeah, victory can lead to overconfidence.
And that sets the stage for the next chapter of our deep dive.
The golden age of Athens, but also its eventual downfall.
Stay tuned for part 2. So Athens is like on a roll after those Persian wars.
Little rock star.
Powerful navy. They're in charge of the Delian League.
It's their moment.
But the golden age of Athens isn't just about, military power, is it?
No, not at all.
This is also when they had this huge explosion of culture and art.
And intellectual innovation.
Like the whole city-state was just bursting with creativity.
Yeah. It's really remarkable.
And our source material talks a lot about Pericles,
Oh, yeah?
this charismatic leader.
He was really influential.
He shaped Athens during this golden age,
Right. He oversaw those massive building projects.
like the Parthenon.
Exactly.
He was a big supporter of Athenian democracy.
He was like the CEO of Athens, Inc.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's under Pericles that Athenian democracy really takes shape.
This is that direct democracy we talked about, right?
Right, where citizens voted on everything.
Everything. Like what kinds of things?
I mean, everything. Taxes, infrastructure,
Wow.
military action, even declarations of war.
Can you imagine that today? Voting on whether to go to war?
It's a lot of responsibility for everyday citizens.
It really is.
Our source material actually gives us a glimpse into what it was like.
To be an Athenian citizen.
Yeah, during this time period,
So what was it like?
they were expected to attend the assembly,
Okay.
serve on juries.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It was basically a full-time job to be a good Athenian.
So it wasn't just about rights.
No, it was about civic duty.
Active participation.
Exactly.
And their legal system. That's another area where Athenian democracy really stands out.
Yeah, trial by jury was central to their justice system.
Oh.
But get this, the juries were huge EE.
Huge. Like how big are we talking?
Hundreds of people sometimes.
What?
And there were no lawyers.
So you had to represent yourself.
Yep.
That sounds terrifying.
It must have taken some serious skill
And rhetorical ability.
to navigate that system, for
Yeah.
sure.
But there was also a dark side to all this, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Our source material mentions that slaves had no legal rights.
And they could only testify under torture.
Yikes, that's a tough reminder.
That even in a society that was striving for equality,
There were still these deep inequalities.
it's important to see the full picture, the good and the bad.
It really is.
And this awareness of Athenian democracy's flaws kind of leads us to our next turning point,
Which is?
the Peloponnesian War.
Okay, so we've got Athens,
Powerful,
democratic,
culturally vibrant,
and then we've got Sparta,
intense warrior culture.
highly disciplined military.
It's almost like the first Cold War.
Right. Decades of tension before it finally boils over.
And the war itself was brutal and drawn out.
Very different from those quick victories against the Persians.
Oh yeah, this was a war of attrition
Lots of sieges and naval battles.
and political maneuvering.
Our source material mentions this really grim detail.
Oh yeah.
A plague that devastated Athens during the war.
It's a reminder how fragile even a powerful city-state can be.
Facing an enemy like Sparta and a disease outbreak,
It was a terrible time.
the plague even killed Pericles.
Imagine losing your leader right in the middle of this war.
It must have been a huge blow to morale.
It was.
So, spoiler alert, I guess,
Yeah.
Sparta wins.
They do.
But our source material says they won at a huge cost.
What does that mean?
Well, essentially it means that Greece as a whole was weakened by this conflict.
All that infighting.
Yeah, left them open to outside forces.
And this sets the stage for the rise of a new power. Macedonia?
Macedonia,
This kingdom on the edge of the Greek world.
often seen as barbarians by the Greeks.
But they had a secret weapon.
Who is that?
Philip II.
Okay.
He was a brilliant military leader.
A strategist.
He completely transformed the Macedonian army.
How so?
Well, he understood the importance of what we call combined arms warfare.
So, like using different types of troops together?
Exactly. Cavalry, infantry, archers, siege weapons. He used them all strategically, and it totally changed the game.
He pretty much conquers most of Greece, right?
He does, but then assassination.
What? Who did it?
We don't know for sure.
What?
There are lots of theories.
Like what?
Some people suspect his wife Olympias,
Intrigue.
but there's no proof.
So it's a mystery.
Yeah. A real ancient Greek whodunit.
I love it.
Regardless, it's Philip's son who takes over.
Alexander the Great.
And get this, he was tutored by Aristotle.
Can you imagine?
What an education.
Talk about a high-powered mentor.
But Alexander's legacy goes way beyond philosophy.
Oh, absolutely.
His conquests were legendary.
From Greece to Egypt to India.
He created one of the largest empires the world had ever seen.
It's mind-blowing.
And the Battle of Issus,
Yeah.
where he defeats the Persian king Darius.
Oh, that's a classic.
Total underdog victory.
They still study that one in military schools.
Wow. But Alexander wasn't just a conqueror, was he?
No, he founded cities like Alexandria in Egypt.
Which became this huge center of learning.
He spread Greek ideas throughout his empire.
He blended Persian and Greek traditions.
He was a complex figure.
So he's a warrior, king, city builder, cultural ambassador,
All in one.
and of course he dies.
Young and unexpectedly.
What happened?
No one knows for sure.
Yeah.
It's another mystery. So his empire is thrown into chaos.
Yeah, his generals fight over control.
And his territories are divided.
Eventually.
But his legend lives on.
Oh yeah, he's inspired countless stories.
Okay, so we've covered all these massive historical events.
Wars, empires, legendary figures.
But what about the everyday lives of the Greeks?
Yeah. What was it actually like to live in ancient Greece?
That's what's so cool about our source material.
What do you mean?
It gives us a glimpse into those daily realities.
And it's surprisingly diverse.
Like how so?
Well, most Greeks were farmers, working the land.
To survive.
They practiced what we call dry farming.
Dry farming.
Yeah, they relied only on rainfall, no irrigation.
Wow, that sounds risky.
It was. Their livelihood totally depended on the weather.
And what about food? What did they eat?
Well, bread was a staple,
Okay.
as were olives and olive oil.
Makes sense.
Wine was also common,
Even for kids.
even for kids. Yep.
Wow.
Meat was more of a luxury, though.
Something for special occasions. And then, of course, there's the whole issue of slavery,
Right.
which was a big part of ancient Greek society.
It was.
Another one of those complexities we've been talking about,
That's right.
this idea of democracy and intellectual freedom.
Coexisting with slavery.
It's definitely something that challenges our modern views.
Absolutely.
And they're also medics, right?
Yeah, those resident aliens.
Who could be wealthy but not citizens.
Right. They could never have full rights.
Ancient Greece was all about where you fit in the social order.
Yeah, your status really defined your life.
Okay. But it wasn't all work and social hierarchies, was it?
No, of course not.
The Greeks knew how to have fun too, right?
Oh, yeah. They definitely knew how to party.
What about entertainment in ancient Greece?
Well, Greek theater was a big deal.
Okay.
Plays were part of these huge religious festivals.
People came from all over.
Oh, yeah, for all over the region.
And we're talking about the origins of tragedy here, right?
We are. Playwrights like Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides.
Names we still know today.
Exactly.
And their plays dealt with some pretty heavy themes, right?
Oh, yeah, big stuff. Fate, justice,
Giant or the gods.
the human condition.
It's incredible how they were wrestling with these same questions we still think about today.
Timeless questions.
And then there's comedy.
Oh, yeah, Aristophanes.
He wrote those political satires.
Full of wordplay and slapstick.
And some pretty raunchy humor, too.
Yeah, they didn't hold back.
So they had it all. Tragedy, comedy, satire.
And of course, you can't forget about the Olympics.
The original Olympic Games.
And here's something that might surprise you.
What's that?
They weren't just about sports.
Really?
They were a religious festival in honor of Zeus,
Oh, wow.
a way to celebrate physical excellence and honor the gods.
And the winners got what, like a trophy?
They got fame and glory?
No prize money?
Nope, just bragging rights.
Wow, that's wild.
It really shows you how connected religion and athletics were back then.
Man, we've been on quite a journey today.
We have. From those Minoans on Crete,
To Alexander's huge empire,
from those busy Athenian streets.
to the Spartans and their intense training.
It's incredible how much we've covered.
I know. And I'm already feeling that, like, post-deep dive buzz, you know?
Oh yeah, I know that feeling.
Like, I want to go read every book about ancient Greece.
Watch every documentary.
Exactly. But I think what really struck me is just how much of what we think of as, like, modern,
Yeah,
it actually has roots in ancient Greece.
it's true. We see it everywhere.
Like in our art and architecture.
Our political systems.
Those ideas about democracy.
And even just the way we approach science and philosophy.
It's like they laid the foundation for Western civilization.
And not just the physical stuff.
Right. It's the ideas, the values.
The way we think about the world.
Okay, so I have a final thought-provoking question for you.
Okay, shoot.
Imagine you could, like, hop in a time machine.
Go back to ancient Greece.
Yeah. Where would you go?
It's a tough one.
Right. Would you be drawn to that energy of Athens?
With all the debates in the theater,
Yeah. Could you picture yourself, like, walking through the agora,
the marketplace.
taking it all in?
Or maybe you'd be more interested in Sparta.
With that whole warrior culture?
Imagine seeing that training firsthand.
Their lifestyle, so different from Athens.
Totally different vibe.
And then there's Alexandria,
Founded by Alexander himself.
a mix of cultures, that amazing library.
It's like choosing between different flavors of history.
Right, each one giving you a different perspective.
And this deep dive is really just the beginning.
There's always more to learn.
If you're curious, definitely check out the reading list in Ancient Greeks for Dummies,
Yeah, it's got some great suggestions.
based on what we talked about today.
So you can keep exploring. And as you learn more about ancient Greece,
Yeah.
keep questioning, keep making those connections.
Keep those aha moments coming.
Because the more we understand the past
The more we understand ourselves.
and the world we live in.
Exactly.
That's a great way to wrap things up.
It was fun diving deep with you.
Likewise. And until next time.
Keep those minds curious.
And remember, the past is never really past.
It's always there waiting to be rediscovered.